Northern New South Wales, Australia, flood disaster 2022, as told by a deaf community member. On screen, a woman wearing a long-sleeved green shirt sits on a chair in front of a black background. She is signing Australian Sign Language, or Auslan. There are captions of what she is signing. They say, "There is so much I could write about these floods that started on February 28th, 2022. I haven't been able to work out where to start, but here is one part of the story. I am a deaf business owner in Lismore. I am a passionate and involved member of the deaf community, and my work is in the field of accessibility. In the days preceding the flood of February 28, 2022, I was in hospital for a surgery. I was watching social media closely, and the warnings coming from New South Wales State Emergency Services and Lismore City Council. Given that my business premises were in the CBD, or Central Business District, and that I knew there were deaf residents in the flood impact areas, I was concerned at the lack of Auslan interpreted emergency information. And this is an issue that was raised during the 2017 flood response in Lismore. I contacted my deaf friend, trying to make sure that they had the right information, as I knew it would be completely inaccessible to them. As I hadn't heard back, I sent messages to Resilient Lismore, the SES, or State Emergency Services, and local councillors, requesting that they make a welfare check and ensure that this particular resident was aware. The State Emergency Services and a local councillor made that welfare check. However, they did not arrange interpreting. It was through pure chance that another deaf resident, who is also a community worker, had also checked in at the same time, and they were able to facilitate communication, as best that they could. I then contacted a number of organisations in the deaf sector to ask if there was a plan to ensure interpreting for these announcements was going to happen. There was no plan. No plan. No state, federal, or local emergency organisation had connected with interpreting agencies to make arrangements for Auslan access to local information in order to safeguard our beautiful deaf community. You might not realise this, but Lismore and surrounds has the highest ratio of sign language users in our population of any local government area in the state. We are here. At this point, I was extremely worried for my community. So I reached out widely to my personal networks, and through Messenger, 3 interpreters from various agencies contacted me and said that they were available to interpret emergency updates after they were available to the public. They asked if I would send them through the information as it came through, and they would create an interpretation. A local interpreter was able to negotiate with council to upload the videos that were created to their posts as they became available. However, with the chaos of the situation, this information was not always available and uploaded in a timely manner. This was a dangerous and cumbersome process, as it was not a response to any formal procedure or policy, but rather an attempt by myself and the interpreters to fill a gaping hole in the information available to the public. I had grave fears for my community's safety and spent several sleepless nights monitoring emergency updates, sending them to interpreters, and sharing with contacts on social media. While in no way close to the experience of those physically in the path of floodwaters, the night of the first flood, February 28th, was one of the most truly terrifying nights of my life. I truly thought I was watching people's final moments play out on social media. My heart was pounding and I could barely breathe, not knowing if my friends and family were alive, and being powerless to help them, being in recovery from an operation and on bed rest. What could I have done anyway? As it turns out, there were multiple deaf people and their families across the region who were impacted by this event. However, as I have the good fortune of my home being out of the flood zone, despite my business being completely inundated, I was initially able to monitor emergency updates. Unfortunately, our internet and mobile access was sporadic, so there were long periods over the days following the flood that I was out of contact, which was anxiety inducing as I wasn't able to send through the interpreting requests as quickly as possible. What if something critical was missed? While I was supported in my call out for interpreting of local emergency updates by representatives from ASLIA, the Australian Sign Language Interpreters Association, Deaf Connect, and Sweeney Interpreting, I deeply appreciate the work of these individuals in the days following. But I am appalled and frightened at the lack of response and initiative from our public organisations who are tasked with producing the emergency updates for safety of the public. That equal access to critical information as described by the Disability Discrimination Act, had to be initiated and driven by a community member, untrained in emergency response, and that's nothing short of negligence. In a heartbreaking but unsurprising turn of events, this roundabout process had to be reproduced in the second flood, a mere month later. The barriers to accessing supports in the already difficult recovery journey, they continue. Story told by Sigrid MacDonald, Auslan translation by Beck Craig.